Welcome to Construction Champions Podcast, where we are burning the house down and rebuilding it twice a week. I'm your host, Rod Nussbaum, and I am here to help you become the champion that you're meant to be. Along with our amazing guests along the way, we will provide you with the resources, the latest and greatest. You will sit down with disruptors in the construction industry. And my goal from day one has always been to change the mindset around the construction industry. No more where we let the 3% of bad apes dictate the entire reputation of. With amazing guests talking about how we rebuild that house we just burned down. Whether it's your personal life, your business, your relationships with employees, significant others, whatever that looks like, we're here to make you into that champion that you want to be. It's why you tuned in. It's why you're listening to a podcast called Construction Champions. I guess if you don't want to be a champion, now it's the time to turn it off. So today is just like every other day. We have an amazing guest that I am super excited for. Todd, it is great to have you here.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate the invitation. Looking forward to a great conversation. Thank you, Ron. Love what you do.
Awesome, man. And before we dive into it, why don't you tell all the champions out there a little bit about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. So I have spent my entire, at this point, very long career in the construction industry. I currently serve as president of Isaiah Industries, which is a manufacturer of specialty residential metal roofing products. And we produce in about 20 different product lines that we sell across North America and do a decent amount of export into Japan and Canada and the Caribbean and a few other areas as well. But the real rewarding thing that I get to do, Ron, is I get the opportunity to work with, literally thousands of contractors across the world, really, helping them figure out how to build their businesses. And so I get to talk a lot about, how do you turn a business into being a true construction champion? And I love that topic and love what you're doing by highlighting it.
Awesome. Well, let's dive right in there. And I'm going to ask the $1,000,000 question. And that is, what makes a construction champion?
Sure. So, this can get kind of dry, but yet it isn't because it's exciting stuff to help you build your business. And, when I talk about this, what I look at a lot is, okay, again, I've worked with thousands of contractors and I've seen some that have gone to very high levels of success and stayed there or continued to grow. I've seen some that peaked and plummeted. I've seen some that never got out of the starting gate. So one of the things that I do when I train contractors is they'll ask me, what are the things I should be paying attention to? And to me, those things that they should be paying attention to are the things that will create construction champions. And it's very cool because a lot of times I'm just in there talking to them about metal roofing and how to institute metal roofing into their businesses. But we get to talking about a whole lot of other things as well. And a lot of times I'll have a lot of good book resources and podcasts and leaders that they can be listening to and things that they should be paying attention to if they really want to be that construction champion. So I've got kind of a checklist of these things. I'll go down through some of them today. If anyone wants to contact me, and I know we'll give some contact information later, I'll be happy to send them the entire checklist and even engage with them about it if they like. But I kind of break it down into 4 buckets, 4 different areas of things to think about. So one of those I call the basics. Another one I call, that necessary evil, the financials of the whole thing. Another one I call the systems and people of your organization. And then finally, sales and marketing, which is kind of near and dear to my heart. That's where I've spent most of my life. But I kind of break things down into those 4 buckets. So if you want, I can highlight a couple things out of each bucket.
Absolutely. And I love, so I mean, I'm so much like you is when I'm on cars and we're talking about BuilderComs and what we do is like, we get down all these other holes because there's so much stuff that can be talked about, and it's not like about like that sales call. It's about like, how do I help this person with their business today, right now. And man, you can really, that's like the fun part. Like that's the exciting part where you're like, you do something or you say something and you see the light bulb go off in somebody's head. So I'm super excited to hear this.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things, kind of looking at the basics of setting up a business or, making sure your business is tuned up to be a true champion. One of the things I talk about that a lot of companies don't do is I want them to make sure they've got a good attorney, make sure they've got a good accountant, make sure they have a good banking relationship. And I think a lot of business people kind of, yeah, well, my sister-in-law keeps my books and, I kind of sometimes Google stuff when I got a legal question. No, no, you got to make sure that you got someone firmly in your court that's giving you good advice in all three of those areas: legal, your own finances, and then also banking relationship. A lot of people start businesses thinking, I'll never need a banker. I'll just have the cash come in as I grow. But that isn't the way most businesses end up scaling. At some point, you're going to need that banking relationship. And especially in this day and age, you're better to establish that early on, so that banker starts to really know your business and starts to trust you and really know what you're all about and why you're doing what you're doing. So those three things are key: have a good accountant, a good attorney, have a good banking relationship. Now, I think one of the next things is core values. And one of the things, if you read a lot of the books, they talk about, you got to sit and you got to write your vision and you got to write your mission statement. Well, kind of the trend I'm seeing, I don't know if you're seeing this, Ron, but the trend I'm seeing these days is, a mission statement really can be very fluid because a lot of times opportunities in this world that moves so rapidly, opportunities come quick. And sometimes mission has to change and it can be very fluid. And so all the thought leaders I hear out there today are saying, you got to get your core values down. Your mission maybe can be fluid, but it has to be fluid within the parameters of those core values you set for your business. And so a lot of people say, well, I'm not quite sure how to do core values. I just go copy someone else's. No, 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 no. You got to write them for yourself. And they're going to be things that are very important to you and to your key leadership at your team. But a couple ways to think about core values. One is I often think of them as the banks of a river. So I'm in my canoe going down a river. I can't go outside the banks, can I? And so think of those core values as the banks of your river. I can't stray outside my core values of my company. So when those opportunities come along that maybe you're going to say, hey, let's shift our mission a little bit. Okay, we'll consider it. Does it stay within our core values? Another thing I often think about on core values is think of them as a litmus test. So if you have to make decisions in your company, do we do this? Do we do that? Whatever those decisions might be, always use your core values as a litmus test and determine, okay, if we do this, is it still within our core values? Yep, it is. It all checks. It's all good. You're good to go, at least to the point of whether you want to make that decision or not. But on the other hand, if you're looking at a decision that clearly is outside the banks of your core values, then that's telling you, hey, we're off track at that point. So those are kind of a couple of the things I consider sort of basics, making sure you got those right relationships to guide your business, and then making sure also that you got the core values to guide your business.
Yeah, no, that's so critical. The relationships with the attorney, the accountant, and the banker is something that we typically lack in the
Mm.
construction industry. And
Oftentimes.
we look at it, we're very reactive with those relationships. We're not planning it out, having those relationships. And I'm a big believer in core values. I think everybody should have them personally, business wise, family wise. Like you said, these are the things that keep you within that river and not getting out of that canoe or that whatever, the boat, yacht, whatever you're taking down through there. It keeps you from getting off on it and heading out on some survivor track somewhere and completely leaving your ship captainless. And it's so important to have those.
Absolutely love it. And so the next bucket I kind of talk about a lot of times is financial. And there's a few key things on that. One, it's very important to know your numbers. And those numbers are not just your monthly finances, your monthly reports that you're generating, that you have to generate monthly. This is not something you just do every year at tax time. You got to know what's happening in your business every month as you go. But you also know your numbers as far as your sales and your marketing, your lead generation. What is your closing ratio? What is your success rate with setting appointments out of the leads that you generate? And obviously, that can look a little different for every business because some businesses require a whole lot more sales leads and sales activity than others. But you want to make sure you know all of those numbers and you use those numbers to help guide your business. Another thing I like to talk about with businesses is zero-based budgeting. And zero-based budgeting requires you to always think about the ROI, the return on investment of everything that you do. I see a lot of companies and contractors in particular seem like they can be real prone to this, get themselves in trouble by chasing every new flashy app or every new flashy product or every new flashy piece of equipment or truck or whatever. You got to realize all that glitters does not make gold for you. So you want to make all those decisions very carefully and look at your ROI on everything before you decide to go down that path. And as someone told me early on when I was starting in business, in fact, it was my CPA that told me this. So I practice what I preach. They said, "Hey, cash is king, and there ain't no queen, Todd." So you always got to be watching your cash and watching your expenditures. And a lot of times we can get a little loosey goosey when we start thinking, I'm king of the world. I got all these great contracts out there and business coming in. I can afford anything. Well, it doesn't always stay that way. And we're kind of seeing that right now. I mean, a lot of contractors are starting to hurt. They're coming out of that period after COVID where they could sell anyone and everything, and there was so much demand for them. And now suddenly that isn't quite so much the case. So reality does come home at some point on those finances.
Absolutely. For guys that are listening that's never heard of zero-based budgeting, how would you just simply break that down for them?
Really simple. So when you set yourself a budget for the year, you start at zero. You don't spend a dime until you are certain that it's going to have the ROI that's going to make it worthwhile. And that really forces you each year to look at each and every expenditure and say, okay, do I want to do this? And, as you grow your business, you got history to go back on and you're saying, well, I did it last year and no, you're right. I didn't have any ROI from that. And so it forces you to look at everything anew each year, sometimes even each month on some of those things that you can make decisions on and say, I'm not getting payback from that. Now, marketing is a whole different piece. And that's why with marketing, I stress you got to look at trends and a little bit bigger pictures. I mean, one of the things that, I'll see contractors fall down this trap sometimes is they'll say, well, I've been doing this advertising for 2 weeks and it hasn't done a thing. And, everyone that's selling you the advertising is telling you got to go longer than that. And I don't necessarily think you got to go as long as they say you got to go. But sometimes you got to give things a chance also. So, yeah, just looking at everything from, hey, is it bringing me payback or not?
Awesome. Right on the point, man. Right on the point.
And then the next bucket I look at is kind of what I call people and systems. And I'll just kind of hit a couple of high spots in that. One is to, really build systems in your business. Look at the failures, the times that your business messes up. A lot of times we want to look at those and we want to point fingers. We want to say, yeah, that was Joe's fault. And we want to find fault. But instead, change your mindset so that when your business does stub its toe, you start to look and say, well, what system broke down? Don't blame it on a person because chances are Yeah, maybe you can say it was because of what they did, but chances are they didn't have the right direction that told them what to do instead of what they did do. So you want to look at the systems in your business. And for folks who might be starting out in business, or even maybe at it for a while, a great book out there is called The E-Myth. There's even a book called The E-Myth for Contractors by a friend of mine by the name of Michael Gerber. And Michael's been at this a long time, but he gives some great advice on, how to build those systems in your business so that things happen the way they're supposed to happen. They don't happen because, yeah, Joe came through and did it right this time and he screwed up and sucked the next time. They happen the right way because that is the way you've designed them to work. Another thing I talk a lot about today is I'll hear a lot of folks my age, sometimes younger than I'm getting old, sometimes younger than me, and they don't like younger workers. And I hate to sound trite, but the reality is you've got to embrace the younger workforce. If you're getting up there and a little gray haired or gray bearded yourself, you got to embrace that younger workforce because, as trite as it sounds, they are indeed the future. Another thing I would stress a little bit in your hiring practices is hire for cultural fit. I talked earlier about those core values. You don't want to hire someone as clearly can't operate within your core values. I don't care if they got the world's best experience at what you need them to do. You want to hire folks because they fit culturally. They got the smarts to do the job. Maybe they don't have the training. You can always train them how to do the job, but those basic personal attributes you can't build into people. They either got it or they don't. The other thing I would talk a little bit about is remember that as a contractor, your people are they're critical to your success. And sometimes what I'll see, especially in construction, especially when people use subcontractors, and I'm all for subs, makes a lot of sense in a lot of cases, but they will also see their subcontractors as their path to profitability, not as their critical success maker. And what I mean by that is they'll say, well, I'll just negotiate a lower price so I can make money on this deal. That doesn't create a good long-term relationship, unfortunately. So make sure that all of your team, whether they're 1099 or W-2 folks, make sure that all of them are being treated as what they are, critical to your success.
Awesome, man. You're just dropping fire. It's like you came
Hey.
guns loaded, ready to rock and roll. You're making this easy on my end. Like you're just killing it.
Well, I'm down to the fourth bucket, so we're about done. But again, I'm only giving teasers of some of this. So if someone wants the full list, I'm more than happy to send it to them. But kind of the final thing I look at is sales and marketing. And, one of the things that's really important for any business is to know your competition. I think sometimes we don't do that. We just think I'm the best and I do the best, but we don't really know is our competition. What are they up to? One of the things my dad told me in business was don't ever get to the point of where you feel like you're holding your own, where you're treading water. And yeah, we're doing okay. We're holding your own because when you think you're holding your own, somebody else is going around you and somebody else is going to pass you up. So you want to make sure you keep good tabs on your competition and know what separates your company from your competition. Now, then you have to live and breathe that throughout your entire organization so that you don't stub your toe. I mean, if you're out there saying, hey, this is what separates us from the competition, you mess up on that one time and you're sunk. I mean, you got to make sure that you're staying up on top of that the whole time and doing those things. And obviously, everything you do from a sales and marketing standpoint has to be supported by your core values as well. Again, the banks of the river are going to tell you what you can and can't do from a sales and marketing standpoint. Another thing is make sure that when you choose to scale your business or grow your business, make sure you're doing it for profitability. I see a lot of people will start to scale their business and I'm going to buy 5 trucks this year or whatever. And it comes down to more of an ego thing but in the end, it's just bringing them more headaches, not really bringing them more profitability. So make sure that if you grow your business, you're growing it for profitability. I think a final thing, a couple things I'll say real quick. One is make sure you've got a sales system. A lot of people just wing it in sales. And I think in particular, entrepreneurial types tend to do it that way. But again, as you grow your business and you scale it, well, I hear a lot of times as a guy will say, I put on a salesperson and his closing ratio sucks compared to mine. It does. He'll never sell as well as you will as the owner of the company. I mean, he never will or she never will. But what you need to do is build a sales system and hold them accountable to it so that they do the best they possibly can at selling the way that you sell that has been successful for you. So make sure you've got a good, solid sales system in place and you're holding people accountable to follow it. Final thing is pay attention to your past customers. I think especially in construction, sometimes we finish that job and, oh, well, I finished that job. I'll probably never do business for them again. That's not really the case. Some of the real construction champions I see out there are building lifetime relationships, lifelong relationships with clients. And so not only are they there when that client needs future work done, but they are getting referrals from those customers. And everyone knows the difficulties of lead generation these days. Leads are more expensive to generate, tend to have a lot more competition behind them. But the best leads, everyone are going to tell you, is going to be a lead from a referral from a past customer. So you make those past customers happy, you keep them happy, you keep paying attention to them. Think of it this way. Let's say you're in a construction field and normally you say, 15% of my revenue goes toward marketing, toward lead gen every year. What if you take 3 of that 15% and you start to say, okay, I'm going to spend 3% on my past customers every year to try to get referrals from them. And that's going to drop my overall traditional advertising, but it's going to allow me to build relationships with those past customers so that I get referrals from them, which we all love referral business. So just a few other things there to think about that, again, these are things I didn't dream up. These are things I learned from 40 years out there in the field in the trenches, talking to contractors and working with all types of companies.
Awesome, man. I mean, I would say, the 4 things, I would say you stepped up and you hit a grand slam, like boom, just hit all out of the park. I agree with pretty much everything you're saying from every aspect of it. You're right on point. You can tell you've been around the guys because like, this is the stuff that matters. This is the stuff that moves the needle. And it might be, we might have the blinders on a little bit when it comes to stuff, but these are the fundamentals. So I know that was just all a teaser. So for all the guys out there listening that want some more information and would like to follow you or connect with you, what's the best ways for them to do that?
Sure. And I love how you said that, the stuff that matters. And I think that is what this stuff is. So no, folks are always welcome to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. Search Tod Miller Metal Roofing. You're bound to find me there, I can assure you. I also have a website called asktodmiller.com, where I answer questions for contractors and property owners, architects, whoever. But easiest email address for me is actually todd@asktodmiller.com. Otherwise, I got to teach people how to spell Isaiah, since that's the name of our company. And that's just gets ugly real quick. So Todd@asktodmiller.com, Tod Miller Metal Roofing on LinkedIn. They're going to find me. And I am happy to send this full list to them.
Awesome, man. I love asktodmiller.com. I did not know you own that domain. That is amazing. Like, it makes me think, why do I not have askrodnussbaum.com?
There you go. You beat
That is awesome, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for taking the time and being on the show today.
Well, it's been a real pleasure. I always say I love what you do. I've enjoyed having you on our show a couple times. You've been on our podcast, Construction Disruption, twice now, and you've been a great guest on that. And your episodes have always been well followed and enjoyed. So thank you for that as well.
Awesome. I appreciate that. I think it has to do with just bringing the energy around
There you go.
people can feel that. They know when you know your shit, and they know when you're excited about the construction industry, and that's what we are. So I love it, man. And thank you for everything you do. Why don't we didn't go into the podcast before we go here? Why don't you tell it once again, mention that and where people can find it?
Yeah, so the website for that is construction hyphen, the little dash, don't spell out hyphen, construction hyphen disruption.com. And kind of cool. So we have some format similar to yours. We have a lot of guests, but what our focus is on is trying to uncover the future of design, building, and remodeling. So our guests cover a wide gamut from folks who are in tech like you to folks who are producing actual new products or whatever that might be. And we also have gone down some paths talking about things like addiction and recovery and mental health, some of the things that sometimes plague our industry disproportionately compared to the rest of the world.
I love it. And for everybody listening, I highly recommend it. It is a fantastic podcast. I find myself listening to it still to this day. They bring on great guests when you talk about the future, what technology is going to be, or what the future of construction is going to be, whether it's technology, new products, or things that we need to do around our industry to continue to improve it. They definitely touch on those subjects. So like I said, Todd, it has been great having you on the show today.
Hey, thank you so much. I enjoyed it. Keep up the great work. You're doing good stuff out there, and together we'll continue to grow and develop and shake up this industry a little bit.
Absolutely, man. So, Construction Champions, another episode in the bag. Where Todd touched on four principles, four core. I don't want to use core because one of them is core belief, but four main aspects that your construction business should be hovering around. Like it's the foundations, it's the four corners of the foundation. There we go. Maybe that's the best terminology there. These the four corners of that foundation that you can build a successful construction business off of. And they were just teasers. I know he's got a lot more. So for everybody listening, go to asktodmiller.com and ask him a question or email him. Reach out to him. He's a wealth of knowledge, been in the industry for a long time. And I say that with all the respect in the world. I've been around for a minute now at this point in time. And you guys should reach out. Like, this is what we're here to do. He has a heart for improving the construction industry. That's why I was excited to do this episode. So, Construction Champions, make sure you go ask Todd Miller something. And make sure you check out all of our fantastic sponsors. And until next time, be the champion you were meant to be.